A warm welcome to a Podful of Saints on Thursday, the 10th of November, 2022. Windy, a bit chilly Thursday, but these results keep coming in, keeping us warm. So we've been mulling over two more wins for the Saints, for myself, David Tavener, smiling as ever, Jake Ellacott over there.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. Hello, everyone. Oh, what a time to be a Saint.
Indeed. And also in a white shirt over there, Lee Wood.
That's it, mate. How are we doing, boys? You okay?
Yes.
You're a bit more sprightly now than you were this time last week, boys. What's going on?
Win, win, win. We turn up, we win. I mean, it's boring almost, isn't it? But we better look at the minutiae a little bit. Last Saturday, back at Arbor Park, we were on the 5th of November, and there were a few fireworks because the game was going along fairly even till about 25th minute when what's his face got sent off. I wish I could remember his name. A tackle. At the time, it looked really bad. You've probably seen it on the highlights, and he doesn't look quite so bad there. His foot doesn't look raised, but there seems to be intent. Did you agree with the red card?
Oh, Taz, he lined him up, mate, didn't he? He lined him up. I mean, that was an atrocious tackle. And, I mean, it was just one of those ones. He wanted to sort of leave a little bit on Jeffers, and he paid the price, unfortunately.
Yeah, looking at the video, he kept his foot down, but I think he intended catching him one way or another, and he could have done a bit of damage with the way he came in on it. And I know you two weren't there, but that sending off, it did change the game. Slough started really well, and they were on top. They had quite a bit of possession, but clear chances. We weren't giving them many, and the game changed after that. We got on top, but it wasn't until the second half when the goals started coming, and I don't think many people have money on Callum Adebiyi getting the first one, and but he lived up to the NLP's rating. They put him down as a forward in their team of the week. So
who writes that?
Wasn't our bloke? Wasn't there?
Oh dear.
Wasn't me this week.
No. But and after that, I just felt we could have got at them more. I know we got 3 goals, so maybe we're getting greedy. But Hampton and Welling, we played in their half. We pushed them back, and I felt we let Slough come at us a bit, and they could defend a bit further up the pitch, and maybe they should have been allowed to. But in the end, 3-1. I think we'll take that away from home against anybody, won't we?
And a notable mention as well for Dylan Berry, who made some absolutely fantastic saves. A couple in the first half, but the pick of the bunch was that one in the second half where he tipped it over the bar. Good, strong hands for the lad. And we were talking about this, Jake, weren't we, in the pub, mate? You know, it doesn't always work out when your number one keeper gets injured and you get someone else in. It just, you know, something doesn't happen, doesn't quite tick. But Berry's come in, and my word, you know, he's been a replacement. And if he keeps going the way he is, then it shan't be sort of too long before he's knocking on the Norwich City's first team door either.
Yeah, 6'5", and he uses it well, doesn't he? He stands up well. He makes himself really big.
Yeah.
There was a point blank header which he blocked, and then he blocked a rebound, a follow up as well. I don't know who picked him up. We mulled over this last week, didn't we? But he's a good one.
He is indeed. And that one over the bar, second half, wasn't it? It is absolutely superb, that, watching it back. But I think that what pleased me on Saturday was obviously, you know, spectating it from a distance via social media. Even when Slough brought it back to 1-1, I still had confidence that we'd go on and win. And I didn't have that confidence at the start of the season in games like that. A scrappy away game, difficult place to go, 10 men, you know, I knew Slough would dig in. But I just had faith that we'd find that winning goal. And it turned that way. And I think we talked about it again, didn't we, Lee? That, you know, there's just a nice positivity around the team at the minute.
That's the word of the week, mate, isn't it?
Exactly.
Hey, that's the word.
But it's really nice, and it's really enjoyable. And even when we're in a tough spot like Slough and towards the end of the Weymouth game, which we'll talk about, I still had confidence in these boys because of the way they're playing at the minute. And that confidence breeds throughout the club. And it's absolutely just really enjoyable, isn't it, at the minute?
Believe
so that's
it or
great.
Not, Jake. Believe it or not, mate, that's how watching St Albans City used to be. Taz will tell you, irrespective of the fact whether we had a good team or not, the boys would often play for each other. And I think that's what we've got here. We've had better sides, of course we have. But I'll tell you what, though, mate, in terms of that unity now, Ian's departure really has brought them closer together. And the introduction of David Noble into the equation now, I don't know what's happened there, but he's absolutely got on firing on all cylinders. And games where, yes, you're absolutely right, maybe under Ian's latter part of his tenureship, we maybe would have lost or even drawn. We're now getting those wins, and it's a sign of a good side, no doubt.
One of the bonuses is the return of Mitchell Weiss. We mentioned him last week, and he's added that bit of quality, takes a bit of pressure off Shaun. He creates, and he wasn't scoring many goals last year, but he got one Saturday, which got us back in the lead when Slough were coming into it. And he brings, I think he's going to bring the best out of Shaun, and we're seeing it with the return that Shaun's getting at the moment.
Yeah, he doesn't look like a player that's been out for 2 months, does he? He's, if not longer than that. He's playing absolutely brilliantly. I think that's the one thing that you could have a question mark over Ian's final 9 games of the season, league games at least. If Mitch hadn't gone off with a bad injury midway through the first game, could have been slightly better, potentially. But yeah, Shaun and Mitch look absolutely superb together. But I throw back to the Hampton game again. A lot of that wasn't Shaun and Mitch connecting. It was Mitch and other players around him, Zane, Tafari Moore, the midfielders behind him, Hugh, all linking up really well through Mitch, and his energy in the team is just absolutely unbelievable. We talked about Joe Neal's energy. He showed a little bit of that against Weymouth, we'll talk about. But Mitch is just on a different level, isn't he? And he's got that goal-scoring ability, which he's shown in the last 2 games. And I have to say, his goal at Slough, the build-up play for it was absolutely superb. I thought, just slides through Slough, really good, and they look like a team that are being coached by David Noble.
We're seeing so much of Joe Neal on the right wing when he plays now, and he put that excellent ball in there for Mitch's goal, if I remember. And he just seems to find so much space. I don't know how he does it, but we're using him well. It's what we didn't have early in the season. You look for things that we didn't have unfortunately, under Ian towards the end of his tenure, and that's one of the things we attack with width and with space.
I think the thing with Joe is that there's more technically gifted players we've got, but I tell you what, you cannot criticise his heart or his endeavour, and he puts in a damn good shift, and there's no doubt about that. I think no more sort of telling than the third goal as well. He had that burst down the right. He kept going. But all through this season, there have been times again where he's put in a damn good shift, and you can't question his desire. I mean, I don't think we've wanted any person to score as much as what we've wanted him to score, because that's just that would cap off the whole performance of this season to date. He deserves his extended run in the side, and I think now under Noble, if he stays, and under the way we are playing that more expansive, quicker attacking football, he's going to benefit as we all are.
Yeah, 10-man Slough were trying hard to get level Saturday. Then, was it 4th minute of injury time? I think Shaun got his goal, and what a calm finish. That was somebody who's got his goal touch back. He's got confidence. He didn't rush it, and eventually placed it right in the top corner. A superb goal.
Oh, it's like the Shaun of old, isn't it? And we say Shaun of old. It wasn't that long ago, was it? But I think if you look I compared it earlier today, I think Shaun's got 9 goals under Nobby, something like that. And he only got 2 goals under Ian. And of course, a lot of that is the build-up play. But Shaun looks so confident now, doesn't he? Every time he's running towards goal, or even when he's got his back to goal, he's not looking for fouls. He's looking to lay off to players to then make his own runs. He's making those runs we'd normally expect from him. And he's getting the ball in good positions. Of course, people are providing them. And yeah, that third at Slough, absolutely perfect finish. And we talked about, didn't we, at the start of the season, 2-year contract, big signing, big contract. He's got to perform, hasn't he, if we want anything in the league this season. And he's starting to now. And he's a crucial player again.
Yeah, I think he's actually got 10 in 10 under Nobby. And might as well move on to Tuesday then. The home game with Weymouth. A 3-2 win against the side bottom of the table. We might have hoped for a bit more, but we'd be happy to just take the points and go from there. But the first goal, in fact, both of Shaun's goals, you can see why Weymouth are in trouble. It's their defence. They gave him so much space for those goals, and he's going to finish them clinically. Was it Karen Wiltshire who put the ball through for the second goal? What a lovely through ball and a lovely cross by Zane for the first goal.
Yeah, two brilliant players, wasn't it? Two of the midfielders there that are really thriving at the minute. It's probably the sort of ball we don't see enough from Kyran, really. I think he's capable of that a little bit more. But yeah, absolutely superb. And we have to remember, Weymouth were going back into this game on the back of a very good result against AFC Wimbledon in the FA Cup on Saturday. 1-1 draw. You could tell that that first 20 minutes where they had a lot of ball, they were confident. But we battled well. And as I say, Shaun, when he's scoring like that, we've always got a chance.
Yeah, going forward, Weymouth look quite a prospect. They gave us more problems than maybe you'd have expected. They are having that great FA Cup run, but their league form remains woeful. And from 2-0 up, why wasn't it? Why didn't we go on from there and finish them off?
I'll tell you why. Johnny Seabrook. He put the jinx on it. Half time, he said, I don't know what he said. I'm paraphrasing, but, let's hope it's another 6-0 for the Saints. And you knew the minute everyone around us went, oh, Christ. But just getting back to our first goal really briefly, don't really see a lot of Shaun Jeffers headers, if I'm honest. But the ball in from Zane, the header from Shaun, it reminded me, Tabs, back me up, Sean Brett to Steve Clark-esque, that no mucking around, get the ball in, thundering header. And it was, you could see that Weymouth were quite leggy to start with. Second half, though, I have to say, I thought they performed much, much better, and they gave us a damn good game. And they highlighted a few frailties, but on the day, I think we were probably good value for the win, but it was a damn sight closer than what it needed to be.
Yeah. Clearly, there's a bit of trouble in the camp there because Ben Goering taken off at half time for Weymouth, and his Twitter message to the manager last night was quite interesting when he was released by him immediately after the game.
Choice language, wasn't it, fellas?
Yeah, I mean, it could always be worse, couldn't it? But also, I looked on the Weymouth forum. I think there's a few of their fans aren't overly impressed with Bobby Wilkinson's man management skills so far this season. We know he can be a ruthless operator, and I think we've seen that with Ben. But yeah, I think that second half as well, I think, Weymouth put on pressure, but it's easy to forget that we had chances ourselves. We got into really good positions, actually. Maybe not as many shots on target as the positions we got into suggested. And we just didn't quite capitalise, did we, until Mitch came on. But, before Mitch came on, we probably could have got another third, fourth, couldn't we?
It was like one touch, wasn't it? It was that last touch too much. But apart from that, you're absolutely spot on, mate. We could have been 4-1, 5-1 up easily.
It's funny, as that one when Joe Neal again went down the right, he got clear of a defence. He had two men in the middle, particularly Shaun. And everyone's thinking, right, square ball, hat-trick for Shaun. And he didn't. He overran it. And, that was a bad miss. But hopefully he'll learn from that. It's funny because he did it Saturday and he didn't get it right Tuesday.
Well, he had another one, didn't we? And I think he injured himself, didn't he, in the last one? Because he's pretty much limping off at the end when he swapped for Mitch. So we'll see how he is. But again, we talked about it, didn't we, under Ian? Wouldn't mind us playing some entertaining football, even if we concede a few. Going forward, I just want to have fun, enjoy, and see the Saints hit in the back of the net. And we are now. And I can totally deal with a 3-2 win over Weymouth. Sure, 2 goals, not ideal. But we still got 3 points, didn't we? And also, crucially, the supporters went home entertained. The atmosphere behind the goal was really good. Everyone was really behind the Saints. I think for the first time this season, everyone was really enjoying it behind the goal.
Yeah, because we're now talking about the chances we're putting away as rather than the ones that have cost us points. And okay, yes, we're still squandering a few chances, but we're attacking the team in the process. So that's no problem. I think the difference between, as you alluded to there, fellas, that Joe Neal chance in the second half, probably the difference between a good player and a great player. But, the more he's going to get time, I mean, he's thriving. This is his best spell in a City shirt. But I think the score line probably flattered Weymouth. They huffed and puffed for quite a large section of the second half, but the game should have been done and dusted long before that.
David Noble, he's having a good run as interim manager or whatever, but he's not afraid to make changes. On Tuesday, he dropped Hugh Dawson and Mitchell Weiss from the side that won at Slough, stuck them both on the bench, eventually brought them back on. He's going to change it horses for courses, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think crucially though, it gives those players some time off the pitch, doesn't it? You know, Mitch has come back from a pretty bad injury. He can't be constantly playing. And Hugh, you have to remember, before Nobby came in, he'd barely played. He barely had any minutes in the tank. So, of course, he's not going to be able to do a full 90 every game, is he? And I suppose, crucially now, we go into Eastbourne, which could be a tough trip, with those two players that have had a bit of a rest and hopefully should be able to really step up on Saturday. But that's what we like about Nobby. We talked about it early on, didn't we, in this spell, that the substitutions, he's willing to make changes. He's willing to make changes to the starting 11. And it's just that little bit of, it's cringy to say, but a little bit of dynamism in terms of just changing the team a little bit, you know. And when I saw the team, I thought little bit worried about this, but the result speaks for itself, doesn't it?
It's funny, these 3 games where we've knocked in a dozen goals, Hampton, Slough and Weymouth, if you're realistically looking to have success this season in the league and challenge high up, you are looking for 9 points from those games. Possibly you might have taken 7. But the fact that we're doing it and knocking in the goals now as well, it does bode well.
Absolutely. I think we didn't quite say it last podcast, but I think we all would have been looking for ideally 6 points from the 2 games. And we got that. And it's 2 very different games. One, you know, Slough team dug in with 10 men. They had quite a bit of the ball. And then Weymouth, home games, we've not been good at Clarence Park this season, have we, really, generally? Against a side that was going into it on a good result. 2 different games, but similar results. And that's all you can ask for. And, you know, the relationship Nobby's building with the fans with these results is absolutely brilliant at the minute. And Lee, we talked about this again, didn't we? You know, you wake up Tuesday morning thinking, I get to go to Clarence Park tonight. I get to see the Saints play and play some really good football.
Yeah, there's a few of that mindset now. Whereas before it was like, oh, yeah, City playing tonight, and I wasn't dreading it because I always loved going to watch the Saints. But now there's a bit more spring in my step. So, oh, City playing tonight, and you know that hunger's come back now. But the reason we've not mentioned form on the podcast before, Jake, is because we were so, you know, ensconced in what's going on with Nobby. You know, he's probably learning as he goes along anyway. So that's probably why he's got to chop and change, because he's probably got a limited window to get to know the players from a managerial aspect as well. I mean, I don't know what else he has to do to get given the job. And it's only going to be down to 2 things. Either he genuinely doesn't want it, or the managers or the owners don't want him. You know, and it can't be any clearer than that. Hopefully, I reckon the delay might be because they're negotiating a really good deal for him, you know, to come on as full time. But what else has he got to do? He's got us playing with a vigour and, you know, a real sparkle now. He's getting good performances out of players that have previously been absolute crap. So he's turned the form players back into positive form. He's got the crowds coming in. He's got points on the board with scoring goals. I mean, forgive me, but call me old-fashioned. Isn't that what you want out of a manager of your club?
And I'd say crucially that you can see that he's learning on the job, can't you? If you look back to Ebbsfleet and Dulwich, he was not particularly happy after both those results. I think he learned from the mistake he made with the defence at Dulwich, in Wiltshire. He wasn't happy at all with the Ebbsfleet result, even though they're by far the best team in the league. And he's made those changes. And the 3 games since, well, it's been unbelievable, hasn't it? You know, it's been so good to see. So he's clearly learning. He's a young manager. John Meeks alongside him is very experienced. As you say, Lee, surely it's time to announce him.
Well, you've got to ask, what on earth is going on in our boardroom? It's 5 weeks now since Ian's gone, and I think there's only one message come out in that time, and that was through the trust. We've heard supposedly second interviews going on. The lack of communications when it's not an easier time in our history to get communication out there, to keep people in the dark. It's just coming across as they don't know what they're doing, which it's probably cruel. They probably have got a plan.
Not the first time, though, Taps, is it? Hey, let's face it, mate.
But are they intending to give it to someone else? Are they intending to give it to Nobby? Are they intending to give it to him just for the rest of the season? The lack of communication has been absolutely woeful.
it's been scandalous, and quite frankly, but I appreciate that when you're looking at a managerial change, you've got to keep things quite close to your chest. That's a given. But the fact is now, if you're from the owner's point of view, you either want him to have the job or you don't. The fact you've been interviewing, I mean, put yourself in Nobby's shoes, right? He's doing a fantastic job for the club, and all he sees is people coming in and out of the club, out of the boardroom, being interviewed for his position. That's unsettling in itself. You've still got Ian skulking around in the background with his bags of Wenzels and selling the golf days and this, that, and the other. But ultimately, mate, let's just clear house, get your house in order, and let's get cracking on with the season, because you fellas are absolutely spot on. If we play our cards right, there's absolutely a chance that we could be challenging for playoffs, because we've beaten some good teams and we've done it playing some really good football as well. So I don't know what else he's got to do. And again, two reasons: either he doesn't want it or they don't want him to have it. So
it's funny you say about beating some good teams, Lee. You look at the league table. We haven't beaten any of the top 9 teams. All our wins have come from teams from 10th downwards. We played, 6 games against the top 9 teams and picked up 2 points.
Yeah, but I think in terms of Slough are a good side. I think that Weymouth will now pick up again, because, you don't beat AFC Wimbledon in the cup if you're a bad side. And you can see from the second half performance as well that they were good value. They moved the ball around quickly. I think Dulwich, we were unlucky. It was just a comical way that we lost that game. These aren't crap. We're not getting turned over. We're actually performing really, really well. Yes, there are great sides in our division, and there are good sides. But we can only beat what's put in front of us. Absolute game aside, I think we've been in most of the contests that Nobby's put out a team for, and that has been lacking over the past few years.
Of course, Weymouth got a replay with Wimbledon in the FA Cup on the 15th of November, following the 1-1 draw down at the Wessex Stadium. We've got a different challenge this coming Saturday, because we're down at Eastbourne on the plastic pitch, but Slough Town's plastic pitch. Our record this year, since the turn of the year, we've had 9 games, I think it is, on plastic pitches, 4 wins, 5 defeats. So it's not that big a handicap for us, even though we play on grass.
No, not at all. Especially the way we're playing football at the minute, keeping it on the ground, slick passing football. I don't think it's an issue at all. And the Eastbourne pitch, from what I remember, is one of the better ones, to be honest. It's not covered in all those little black bits that just can ruin the game. But forget the pitch. We'll be going there with confidence, won't we? We'll be going there really positive, full of confidence. You saw all the fans at the end of the game on Tuesday night singing at the City players. They're all coming over, enjoying it. It's just really good energy around the club at the minute. And, Nobby will know what he's expecting. And Eastbourne as well aren't in particularly great form themselves. So we've got to go there confident, haven't we?
They've already lost 5 times at home in the league this season. Even we've only lost 3.
Do you remember last season when Hemel, well, we barely mentioned this season, barely won at home, did they, on the 3G? So maybe it's the 3G.
Yeah. They've excelled themselves, Hemel, 3 wins so far this season, and they're going great guns.
They're still going.
Eastbourne, I think he's captain now, Charlie Walker down there. Be good to see him again. He's been there, over 4 years now?
Yeah. I don't. He's not. It's. We know it's going to be difficult, don't we? It's never been the funnest of places to go. But recent history, our record at Priory Lane hasn't been the worst, and you've got to fancy us, even though, well, not even though, we just got to be confident, haven't we? Don't even think about anything else. 3 points.
You can't predict the side Nobby's going to put out. Although we haven't got a midweek game next week, so he can put his strongest side out and not worry about having to rest anybody. Would you change Tuesday's side from what you saw?
I would probably start Hugh. I would probably give Mitch's knees a bit of a rest on that surface for the minute. Maybe bring him on if things aren't going particularly well. But Hugh on that pitch, young, energetic, up and down passing those fantastic balls. Wiltshire's doing the business now. He's sort of turning up on occasion, which is great. Banton's just been an absolute revelation for us over the last sort of 10 games. Yeah, as Jake said, I'm quietly confident actually, and it's again that spring in the step, and it all comes from the way we're playing football and the results we're having as well. It's a real joy to behold, fellas, to go into games now thinking we can actually win them. Which is the way it should be.
I agree with you about Hugh Dawson. I think he's having his best form he's had with us since he broke into the first team, and Saturday's game will be his 50th for the club, as it will also be for Manesh Sundia.
Well, it's prime opportunity, isn't this, for you? Because he's being managed by one of the best midfielders we've seen at Clarence Park in 10, 20 years. He can learn a lot from Nobby every training session, and I think you can see that, can't you? He's playing with such confidence, such ability. He's not afraid to make a challenge. He can pass the ball, and he suits Kyran as well, I think, really well. So those two have got a good relationship. And of course, interestingly, there's no Shez Isaac in the squad on Tuesday night at all, was there? I don't know if we've heard why, but no space for him on the bench, whether it's injury or form related or whatever. But you've got to chuck Hugh back in, I think, on Saturday, as long as he's fit and ready to do so. And I personally would start Mitch myself, try and get the goals in, and worry about resting him once we're 4-0 up, right?
Yeah, I think if Mitch is fit, I think I'd also start with him. I'll go along with you on that one, Jake. But he's a handy player to have on the bench if it's not going right. But you don't really want to be chasing games. It's far better to have your noses in front.
No, absolutely. But Joe Neal isn't exactly a bad player to bring off the bench if we need to, is he? On current form at the minute, I think he can easily have an impact. But then, of course, Joe went off with a bit of limp. We don't know what players are fit for Saturday. Devontae as well didn't look happy when he came off, did he? I wonder if we might see Monash put back to right back again if Devontae is struggling a little bit at the minute. So I think there's a few choices for Nobby to think about. But I think the one thing we can say, I think he'll stick with the back three, won't he? You'd have thought, Detrolio, Adebiyi, McKenna, if all three are fit, stick with those three, and then sort of see what he could do further forward, because I think he's got to stick with that formation if he can.
Good times, boys. Good times.
Yeah.
Nothing but. Interesting thing on the club website this week. I think you mentioned it before we came on air, Lee, about the Clash shirt, and it's nothing to do with Joe Strummer and the boys. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, as you may well know, I'm quite fond of a City kit or 27. I love it. I have to say, I absolutely love it. It's about time that we've had a bespoke shirt, and people have ridiculed it, haven't they, Jake? We've sort of had comments backwards and forwards with our friends and our brethren, and even online you can sort of see it. But I tell you what, the club are making an effort, and you have to give credit where it's due. They keep churning out these factory-made, template kits from Hummel, trying to fob it off as some sort of special bespoke design, but really they're just getting all the crap left off in the warehouse. This time is a perfectly bespoke kit, and I hope it proves really, really popular, because they've had Gary Lockerbie, who's had an involvement in the design of it. Will's been involved in the design of it. It looks good. It's different. It's got a reference to the city in there as well. Badge aside, it looks absolutely fantastic, and it's definitely on my Christmas list for Father Christmas to come and bring one at Wood Towers. So good times.
Really? Yeah, I'm looking at it, and I've got to say, Lee, it does nothing for me. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, it's got that abysmal crest on it for a start, which isn't a good start. But the
crest aside, David, crest aside. But yeah, but you're sitting there in a smock, mate. It was 5 sizes too big for you, mate. I mean,
they all are. But this is a pretty dreadful shirt. I'll go along with that. But, for a start, I can't see we need a third kit. It's nothing to do with Christmas coming up at all, is it?
No. We don't need a third kit, but it's another avenue to sort of tap into. Listen, you cannot.
Of course it is.
You cannot begrudge the club to sort of tap into the Enter Shikari fan base, because it has made the club a whole load of money. And you know what? Good luck to that, because it is a revenue stream that, you know, is going to be in abundance. And even by releasing this shirt, it's going to add to that. I mean, people don't have to buy it. People don't have to like it. But, you know, the fact is, it's had a very good response. You know, and we talk about games and players on here, but it's also good to you know, congratulate the club when they do something, in my opinion, relatively well. I've been involved in sort of when the club have released kits over the course of a few years, and this is by far, in my opinion, one of the most attractive ones since we've had the Bill Chip Conference season shirt. So and it's bespoke to us, which I like. Bit of effort, a little bit of thought, and a little bit of commitment to the shirts. It's, you know, it's win.
Well, it isn't a Wood household.
I don't mind it myself either. I think it's a nice design. It's good to see something bespoke. Hopefully they'll get us a bespoke home shirt next season, which would be nice. Go down well with fans. I think my only comment is for the adult sizes. I think is it $49.99. I think on the shop. That's a bit much for me. I think really it's a lot of money, especially at the minute. But then we also know that that Hummel shirt itself and design won't have been cheaply. You know, it is the top quality Hummel stuff, isn't it? You know, even with the Eco 8 stuff, it is really good. So of course there's going to be a markup. You could argue that maybe the other shirts that weren't bespoke maybe were marked up too much in comparison. So $49.99 is a lot for me, but I think overall design is good. It's good to see the club make that effort, and I think it coincides. I think Shikari have got a tour coming up soon, so again, it coincides.
Look how that worked out, boys.
Exactly. It coincides with that, but you know, we can't constantly have a go at the club about everything, can we? You know, there's got to be some give and take, and I think I'm more than happy to say that's a nice design. They've done it well. And it's good to see them make that effort, because previous kits haven't necessarily had that. So, yeah, well done, boys.
Good grief.
I'm going to buy you one, Tabs. I'm going to buy you one.
Don't bother. Leave it. I've got some dusters. I've got some dusters already. I don't need another one. No, but as you say, hopefully a lot of people will like it. I agree with you. A club's got to look at revenue streams. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. It doesn't mean I have to like something like that. And obviously, from what you two say, some people will.
Yeah, it will always divide opinion, won't it? It's always going to, especially with a badge on that still divides opinions among many fans. That's always going to happen. So, but you know, what badge is that, Dave? What year's that from?
This is just a simple crest that we had. There's a nicer one, much nicer one. Look at that. Isn't that lovely?
Oh, I shouldn't have asked.
Look. In a few months' time, we'll be getting one of these, won't we? The runners-up medal 2005-6, so we can add that to our collection.
Yes, that's it.
So we started now, Ellacott.
I know.
You're in the bloody badge.
Oh dear.
Right.
Okay.
Have we done a prediction for Eastbourne?
We're about to, I suspect.
Go
on then. Go
first. Go on then.
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to go 3-1 Saints. Repeat as Slough.
2-0 for me,
Slough. 2-0 Slough. The player sent off was Guy Hollis. 2-0. I've got you there, Jake. Lee, thanks so much. It's optimism. There's no end to it, is there? It's marvellous.
You're only half an hour late with the name of that player, Dave.
Yeah, it's not bad. Shall we start again?
Shots fired. Bloody hell, Elo, eh? He's got a skip, and this is what wind does for us, Tabs. He gets a bit lippy, has a pop at you on the pod. Outrageous.
Oh dear.
I'll try and get over it, Lee.
But
before we end, I suppose we better end it on a slightly sadder note, haven't we? Alex Fletcher at Bath City, who got quite by all accounts, a very serious injury on Tuesday night. So I think we pass on all our thoughts to him and his family, don't we? And it's absolutely shocking to hear about that. At the time, at the game, I thought we were like, oh, what's happened? But to hear about what's happened since, absolutely shocking, and hopefully everything works out okay, but absolutely devastating to hear.
Yeah,
Of course, we've got Bath down the park, haven't we, on the 26th? So hopefully we'll have some much better news by the time we see them.
Yeah, their next couple of their next National League South and County Cup games have been postponed, and obviously I think it's a case of wait and see, isn't it? See what happens now. So yeah, I think we pass on all our best wishes to Bath City supporters, Alex, of course, as well, and his family.
It'd be a good opportunity for maybe the club, and even not the club, maybe even the trust to do a little collection around at the ground if we get to play them as well, boys, which could be a nice touch because he's a good lad and he's probably going to need all the help he can get.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
And I think on that note, I think we better say goodbye, haven't we?
Take care, fellas.
We have
Stay
to.
safe. We do.
Right, we'll see you at Priory Lane.
Bye-bye.